Good morning. It is 7:17 a.m. Excuse me. On Wednesday, February 19th, 2020, I'm Christiana Ellis and I'm running late. This is 5 more minutes. We had a little bit of a disruption to our morning routine today. Not through, excuse me. Um, Incidentally, on that, I'm feeling mostly better except for like right this second. Uh, so, not a disruption coming from any outside source, but just in terms of planning the various little, activities needed to have a little dog ready to do what he needs to do, and at the same time that I get up and everything. And yeah, it was, he usually needs to poop right after eating breakfast, but today he didn't want to, so we walked around out there forever, and then he was all wound up, and it's a whole thing. He is still very cute, though, as I will demonstrate. Look at that. Whoops, there we go. Cute little boy. Are you a good boy, Rocket? Yes, you are. You are very good. You're a very good boy. Good boy. Good boy. Um, yes, so he is doing fine, but I am running late for work. So um, that's how these things go sometimes. Um, I I was left last night after the episode of So Many Levels thinking about tone, because the session last night, purely through my own choices as dungeon master, really kind of went in a dark direction, darker than really. I'm not sure there's many other spots in the entire campaign that have been as dark, and I didn't, I think I didn't fully think through all the implications of some of the ideas in there. I'm not going to go into the details right now, but so I just mean, when I say didn't think through, all I mean is that in execution, so to speak, it felt darker than it had seemed in my head planning it. But it's an interesting. It's not so much that I regret it as much as I'm brought up short by the question of just saying, I have the control over that tone, and it makes me think about how in writing and creativity in general, we tend to all be drawn to certain genres and tones, and frequently will want different things at different times. Some people like their fiction to be just light and escapist and fun and funny. Other people want it to be more serious, or to examine darker things. And you're in a jackhammer across the street. That's great. Um, and it just occurred to me to say that, like, I think I've been guiding the campaign recently to explore some darker things, but I wonder, I'm finding myself a little bit ambivalent about whether I want the tone to stay there or whether I would rather it kind of be a little bit lighter again. It's an interesting question, um, and it's perhaps strange in some ways for me to be surprised that tone is within my control. I mean, to some extent it is. I mean, it's a collaborative story, so in some ways what I'm doing is responding to the characters' decisions, but I also have more overall control over the plot than anyone else, and so I could, even just through my own descriptions, I could have even made the same subject matter feel a little bit less heavy, although I think in that context it, yeah, I don't know how that would have worked for last night, but it just has me thinking about it, and the idea of, if if the tone is going to be directly stemming from my own storytelling, perhaps I ought to be more thoughtful and intentional about it rather than surprising myself. after the fact. Yeah, still thinking about that some. In any event, I've got to go ahead and get ready for work, so I'm going to leave it there and talk to you all tomorrow for 5 more minutes.